Hello to everybody, I hope you're fine and well. I know there are busy days before Christmas, and my last video I made was the comparison between the Epiphone Casino 2021 USA made versus the Epiphone Casino China made. And in that comparison, the American one couldn't really go above the Chinese one, but go and have a look on that video, then you see why. So for me as a collector, there is no reason to collect the 2021, the new American ones, because there are some issues. But it's a great guitar. But the Chinese made is also a great guitar. And after that comparison I received some mails or in some forums they started the discussion how close is the Chinese one, the new Chinese one. They have a high quality, they are great guitars, how close they are to the original ones. And so I thought, yeah, that's a good idea, why not to try to make this comparison. And this is an original 1965 Epiphone Casino made in Kalamazoo. After the serial number, this guitar was made 9 working days after John Lennon's. So this is got it out from the same wood, the same timbers maybe, from the same tree, and was hanging side by side George Harrison and John Lennon's guitar before those guitars were shipped to wherever they had to go. So I thought that's quite interesting to do that. Both guitars are well made, but I have to go a bit closer first with the original 1965 to give you the frame what we're looking at the Chinese one. So in 1958 Gibson started to produce semi-hollow guitars, the ES335, and ES stands for electric, S for Spanish, so electric Spanish, $335 was the price in 1958. So that's why it's called the 335. Then a bit later, Gibson started their 330 and ES330, and that was a hollow body guitar instead of a semi-hollow like the ES335. The ES335 has a block here, and the Casino or the ES330 is hollowed. And then in 1961, Epiphone started to produce also a 330, but under the number 230. But unfortunately it wasn't $100 cheaper than the Gibson, it was only $25 cheaper than the Gibson. And when you ask all Gibson workers what's the difference between Epiphone USA and Gibson USA, when Gibson bought Epiphone in 1957, they started to make, because they were big competitors and they were on the same level until that time. But then after 58 they started to make the Epiphone a bit the lower priced line, quite copies of Gibson guitars but a bit lower price. They said they took a bit less wood. I have to stop from time to time because I'm putting new solar panels on the roof and we all want to save the planet, so we have to go through that. So the Epiphone Casino is cut out from timbers, cut down tree, just timbers, and then it gives this beautiful church pattern. You see that when it goes up and down. That's just when you have a flat timber, just cut at the tree. When you have a quarter sawn, what you read sometimes, then it has this stripe pattern, because a quarter sawn, you take the trunk and you cut like a cake in the trunk. And so this is a timber. And the difference between Epiphones, why they're a bit lower priced than Gibson, they took a bit less wood, so the necks are a bit thinner and the body wood is a bit thinner. And then on this guitar you can see where the branches grow out of the tree. So this was a outside timber, and the outside timbers are a bit weaker than the middle part of a tree. And in the wind you see outside the tree has to be a bit softer and more elastic than the middle part. But when you cut out a guitar, it takes maybe 5 to 6, 7 years, and then it dries out and has the same strength as the wood they used for Gibson guitars. So the quality difference is really not a big one, and the Epiphones used a bit less wood. Otherwise, they were built in the same factory. Epiphone's address was Kalamazoo, Parsons Street 224. Gibson had Parsons Street 225, but behind the doors it was one big, large factory. Between 1961 and 1969, Epiphone produced in the United States 6,857 casinos, and over 3,500 were made between 1966 and 1967. In 1965, where John Lennon's model and George Harrison's model were made, and this one, they made 857 casinos, and 392 1E230 TD. That means that model was made 392 times. That means one guitar a day. They were made in dark burst and royal tan. This one is a royal tan. John Lennon's was a dark burst. And you could also order that as a custom burst. So let's start to giving the points like I did in the first video. American Epiphone Casino USA made versus Epiphone Casino Chinese made. So the Chinese one is, it depends where you live around the world, it's around $1,000 or even under $1,000. So this is a great price for a great instrument. That one, an original 65, costs around between $8,000 and $10,000. But in good condition with no neck breaks, the original frets are on it. It's an investment. When you buy a guitar like that, between $8,000 and $10,000, I don't believe in 5 or 10 years you can buy this guitar for under that price. So I have to give a point to both guitars. It's a spend at the moment. This is an investment. Now, second, how the guitars are built. I mean, here there is no discussion how accurate is it to the original 65. This is an original 65. That guitar was made in the same time as John Lennon's guitar was made, the same wood, the same procedure to build that guitar. So this is the original and this is a copy. So, and then even this one is a bit lighter than that one. It's not a lot, but it's 150 grams lighter than that one. That's a third of a pound. And then also the build quality, it feels better, higher quality than the Chinese one. When you play both one after one, even in a blind test you could immediately say, oh yeah, that's another level. So how accurate it is, for sure that's the point for the original one. So let's check out the acoustic sound. There's a little buzzing on the lower E, but the guitar has no buzzing at all. It's just me. I have such a low setting. I go as down as I can as it starts a bit to buzz. But the setting on the Chinese one is a little higher, maybe 1.2, 1.3 millimeters. The American one sounds acoustic, a bit more like an acoustic guitar, a wider range. Also the bright strings sounds beautiful, full. The range is wider than the Chinese one. The Chinese one sounds a bit darker, more on the bass side. And the American one is really easier, more comfortable to play, and that one is a really comfortable guitar, the Chinese one, but that one is a different level. So that's a point as well for the American one. So price, both have a point, and how accurate they are built, it's the American one, and acoustic, now it's also the American one. this time the American original 65 is the absolute winner. She got all the points. The rarity, exclusivity makes it as an investment interesting. It's interesting as an investment. And within these 9 years, they made so many different models. The first one had dot inlays, then the parallelum inlays. They changed the headstock, 1 pickup, 2 pickup, vibrola, and the first ones had the traditional Gibson neck 1.68, that means 111/16. Then came the Dove wing headstock, and the first one still had this 1.68 neck, but then they changed to the 158 neck, that means 1.62. But this one has a 1.58 neck, and a lot of the 60s, after 65, Epiphone Casino has an extreme narrow neck with a 1.58. So this guitar plays extremely fast, it's easy to play, effortless to play. It's in every range. Also the sound is wider than the a bit bassy Chinese one, and overall it's the winner. It's the 60s Epiphones play in their own league, and I mean, the Chinese one is a great instrument. I love it. I play that guitar regularly, but the American ones, they play in their own leagues, the 60s. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon.